Is a place in prisons and jails where inmates are placed removed from the general population. The Department of Corrections calls it restrictive housing.
And they say it's not a punishment, it's a way to keep inmates safe. But there's a push to eliminate the practice. 10 on your side's Laura Caso spent weeks speaking with former inmates in Hampton Roads and visiting secure housing at the Virginia Beach jail.
What's working and what's not when it comes to solitary confinement or isolation in Virginia prisons and jails. There's an entire report that'll tell you the system needs an overhaul. And there's a local jail that says their system is working to cut crime inside.
So you have a bed, a hard metal bed, a toilet and a sink that's combined together that's right at the bed, and that's it.
Angela Antoine is describing her time in solitary confinement at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail.
It does begin to play on your mental health status. It does begin to make you insane, pretty much, because you have no contact with anyone.
It's stories like hers that inspired the American Civil Liberties Union of Virginia to investigate solitary confinement in the state's prisons. The report, Silent Injustice, Solitary Confinement in Virginia, 3 years in the making.
We tried to look at every aspect of the practice of solitary confinement, which we define as putting someone in a cage, basically, for 22 to 24 hours a day.
The ACLU is asking that no one be kept in solitary confinement for more than 15 consecutive days.
What we know from our research is that people are being held in solitary confinement in Virginia state prisons on average for 2.7 years.
With this letter, the ACLU is asking Governor Ralph Northam to sign an executive order banning solitary confinement for vulnerable people, those with mental illness or physical disabilities, juveniles, LGBTQ people, and pregnant mothers. The organization says solitary confinement causes and exacerbates mental illness and violates the U.S. Constitution's 8th Amendment ban on cruel and unusual punishment.
The administration of solitary confinement has nothing to do with justice.
If you're a problematic individual, you're going to be one of two things.
One of those things is here. They call it the SHU, Security Housing Unit. It's for males. It's important to note this jail is not part of the ACLU report, but it says the system here is working.
It's the environment.
The jail says it's seen a 16% decline in inmate assaults. They don't house inmates alone.
There's never individuals that are solitary confined where they don't have interactions or they can't speak with other inmates or they don't have interactions with our staff. In fact, they're going to see our staff at least twice an hour, every single day, 24 hours a day.
Each cell has 2 beds. Even those who are suicidal are placed together.
And their behavior puts them in there and their behavior keeps them in there.
An inmate can end up here if he or she is a threat to themselves or others, is disruptive, determined to be an escape risk, or refuses to submit a physical examination.
We don't want them to like it in there. We want them to change their behavior.
Inmates may only be placed on administrative segregation by a classification supervisor, watch commander, or higher authority.
Every piece of paperwork possible, man.
Inmates are allowed to read, receive mail, but recreation and rights to constant family visits taken away.
Our philosophy is real simple. We're going to put you in here. We're going to try to assimilate you back in the general population based on your behavior.
Across the way, the mental health unit, where most of these inmates are able to mingle with each other.
You got to interact with general population inmates and eventually back into general population of society itself.
A jail that leads the state in reentry, it says.
92% of our inmate population are going to be released back to society.
Angela is an inmate introduced back into society after serving her time at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail, a convicted felon. Now she's working with the ACLU, she says, to be a voice for others who might not have one.
No one should be mistreated, regardless of what the crime may be.
Laura Caso, 10 on your side.
The ACLU says there are more than 800 prisoners in solitary confinement in Virginia. The DOC says a program created in 2011 was designed to help inmates work their way back into general population and have access to counseling, education, and recreation.